Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to this segment of Coach Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day, where we will be reciting the 11th Pauri of Jup Pauri, which goes as under. Sune Sara Guna Ke Ga, Sune Sekh Pir Patsa, Sune Andhe Pavera, Sune Haath Hove Asga, Nanak Bhagta Sada Vigas, Sune Dukh Pap Ka Nas. First, the translation. Having heard and internalized Guru wisdom through the practice of sabad is akin to having taken a deep dive into a fathomless ocean of virtues or qualities. This is the Sara Guna Ke Ga that Guruji points to. And having taken that deep dive, the practitioner returns with priceless riches that even the religious leaders and kings have not seen, nor have those who profess to show the blind the way. And he refers to them as Sune Sekh Pir Patsa, Sune Andhe Pavera. So in other words, the spiritual status and quality of a mind that has made this deep dive, this deep immersion, exceeds that of spiritual leaders. Why? Because it has the knowledge to ferry us across the ocean of existence. Sune haath hove asga. Asga, of course, here refers to a fathomless ocean, and the ocean here being referred to is the ocean of existence. And so the Bhagat, or the practitioner of Shabad, has this knowledge and is then freed from sorrow and sin and is in forever a state of bloom. Nanak Bhakta Sada Vikas. So this was the fourth and final stanza of the so-called Sune Pauris, very significant Pauris. And the recurring last lines of these four passages point to a state of consciousness that Guruji calls Sada Vigas, also referred to as Anand and Sada Basant in Gurbani. And practitioners of Shabad, who are referred to as Bhagats, are in this state of consciousness. This is another way of saying that Bhagats, who are also called Gurmukhs or Satyara, have attuned themselves to Hukam by making the Sabad their inner guide and compass. So from this we can safely conclude that Sune is not simply hearing and listening, because one couldn't possibly attain to the spiritual heights described in these four stanzas simply by hearing. So as we noted earlier, Sune is referring to a process that begins indeed with hearing and listening, but eventually transcends the senses into a sort of mystical or intuitive listening to the divine Shabad. This Shabad, as we noted earlier, is eternally sounding, eternal vibrations, and is the source of creation and all scriptural revelations. Guruji has described this experience as a kind of musical mysticism. And I quote Gurbani, "There," he says, "the drum of divine word resounds, with the accompaniment of the melody of 5 musical instruments. In that spiritual state shall be revealed wondrous continents, regions, lands, and zones. The King of the universe sits on the true throne, where celestial strains resound to the accompaniment of stringed instruments." So the Shabad Guru can be understood as the active transforming dimension of Shabad that exists in humans as a potentiality. And the Guru is the channel of communication that mediates between Shabad as the divine word and Naam, which reveals Hukam. Now, Shabad is always available but inaccessible because, as Guruji says in Gurbani, as long as the mind is in a state of flux and unrest with thoughts of I amness, in other words, as long as it is ego conditioned, Shabad fails to inspire love and attraction. So in Sikhi, our aim becomes to access the Sadguru, which is the transforming agent, to enable in us the experience of fusing our shallow, conditioned, and constricted consciousness of Haume with universal consciousness of Hukam, of moving from an ego system to an ecosystem, of moving from what is our default state, Haume, to our desired state, Hukam. With that thought, we leave you until our next segment. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.